ladies, and welcome to the Beauty Shaman. So today I'm super excited. It's taken me like months, taken us months to get together to do this talk, but I'm so excited to have Lisa Copeland on the Beauty Shaman today. She is a love coach and dating expert for women over 50 and author of The Winning Dating Formula for Women Over 50. Thanks for joining me, Lisa.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you, Suzanne.
Was that exuberant, you think? You think it was?
Yeah, that was like, wow.
Well, I'm over 50, so I get why this is so important. It's a huge area. So tell me how you came to this. How did you come to this field, basically?
Well, it actually started after my second divorce. And I thought, oh my God, I'm such a failure at this relationship thing and dating. And I didn't know what I was doing. So what I ended up doing was looking for coaches that could help me. And there weren't any. They were in their 20s and 30s. And a 20-year-old female or a 20-year-old male does not know what it's like to come to the table with a totally different body that's had babies, that maybe has gone through perimenopause or menopause. They just didn't know. So I called my sister. I was crying. I said, I'm never going to have a relationship again because I can't find someone to help me. And she said to me, you are so resourceful. Just start figuring it out. I don't recommend doing that because it takes a long time. And but what I did find was through a lot of practice, a lot of testing, I began to understand men better. I came into my confidence, my own value. And this is what I teach my clients in my private coaching and in my groups. Because the most important thing for a woman is to feel lovable and empowered again in this dating world and at this age, because we're pretty amazing, actually.
Well, I agree. And I look at this age as part three. Like I've had, part one, and then part two for me was my sort of marriage when I was married. And then now it's part three and I'm in my 50s. My kids are almost out of the house. I've got more freedom. I have my own business. I'm feeling very powerful. I mean, I'm in a whole different place. And I don't know, viewers obviously on their own, some people are going through divorce. I mean, everybody's got their own storyline right now, but I think it's true. I mean, I feel like the 50s are just such an I love being in my 50s. I really do. Besides the hormonal changes, that's like one thing I'm like, okay, can we go back to the 20s during that? But anyway, on the whole, it's such a powerful, great age.
It is. It really is. And actually, so is 60, which I'm actually in my 60s
Oh,
now.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I even have clients in their 70s as well. You can find love at any age, truthfully. It's really how you feel about yourself and if you know what you're doing to do it.
That's great. And I love that you brought that up. It's how you feel about yourself. So maybe I want you to talk to that because gosh, that's a huge issue. And that's something I talk to a lot on my own, YouTube and because I feel like self-esteem as you age is so huge because the media is telling us completely opposite things. And so anyway, talk to that a little bit with what you've learned.
Sure. The media can actually kill your image because
Hello. Yes, it can.
a great place to look if you want to see beautiful women is QVC, that shopping network. They have women of all sizes and shapes who are beautiful. And it reminds you that you don't have to be a size 0 to be beautiful. That's number one. Number two, as women, we have a tendency to compare ourselves to other women. It's not necessarily that we go out there to impress men, but we're comparing ourselves to other women because how many times have you left your house, you look amazing, you go to a party, you see someone in something that you think makes you look either underdressed or overdressed, and you're like ready to hide. And yet that woman is too, because she thinks she's overdressed or underdressed. We're number one, we're comparing ourselves to other women. You have to stop that. And you have to really get in touch with what's amazing about you. Because a man is not standing there comparing you to another woman. He's looking at you. So one of the greatest things you can do for yourself is to get back in touch with what you love in life. Because when you're passionate, like how you started our show together shows your passion. When you're passionate, that's what's so appealing to men. But to feel better about yourself, start with getting back in touch with things you love doing and start to really learn to accept yourself exactly how you are. Because when a man looks at you, he does not know what you look like at 20. He only knows how you look today. And he has nothing to compare it to. Yet we look in the mirror and we go, oh my God, I got another wrinkle. My eyes are sagging more, or whatever it is. That guy doesn't know that. You're beautiful to him just as you are.
I love that, and I think that's a you're talking about a healthy man, like a man who loves who he is, who's in a good place. I mean, I also am around men who they want the younger woman, or maybe it's for many of the audience, their husband left them for a younger woman, and that's super common, and so it becomes like, ugh, okay, I have to get all this work done, right, in order to be even in the ballpark of getting a good guy. So, I mean, that's just such a toxic way to think, but that unfortunately that's super common.
It is common, but also men leave their wives for women their same age as well.
Right.
And one of the things, if it's a really young woman, they they're not going to want a man unless number one they have a daddy issue, an older man, unless they have a daddy issue, or unless the guy's really wealthy and powerful. Because when you think about in your 20s and 30s, you did not want to be sleeping with some guy who was in his 50s or 60s that'd be like,
Yeah, it's kind of nasty. Yeah.
no, it's like, ew. And so that's usually who goes for younger. Now, men will try out younger women, and some men may end up with women 10 years younger. Some, like Paul McCartney, went to his daughter's age, but Paul McCartney is Sir Paul with a lot of money and a lot of wealth. It's a whole different thing. But most men, they'll try out younger women, and what they find is they don't have enough in common with them. And it's not really about your looks why they're leaving. It's usually because they feel nagged, constantly nagged, or we have emotionally disconnected from them in some way, or vice versa. We've left the marriage.
Right. Well, I think that's true. A lot of marriages are dead way before they die, and
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with the physical aspect of it. I mean,
right.
some they do, right? But a
Mhm.
lot of them, I totally agree with you on that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So in one article that you wrote, and I love this article in particular because of something that you highlighted within. I'm going to read the quote because I think this is I kind of want to move into the things that stop women basically, or the mistakes they make. Okay, so I think I love this quote because I I get it from me because I'm very right. I'm very alpha, right? I'm very like leader, and so the quote was, "Women of our generation were rarely advised on how to receive from a man. If anything, we were told we didn't need men in our lives. We were encouraged to become strong and independent women, and we learned to take care of ourselves." So, yes, 100% yes. But receiving is completely different from that alpha. So, I want you to talk to this. I think it's a big issue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, receiving is something that we were not taught to do that well to begin with. As women, we are natural nurturers, and we actually overgive, which, by the way, is a masculine quality. It is not a feminine quality to overgive. It's the man that should be giving like 55 to 60% in the relationship, and the woman 40 to 45. You really want a man to give to you, to make you happy. And most men, if they're emotionally healthy, that's what they want to do. They truly, the interesting thing about over 50s men is they really do want to make you happy. And one of the things why they leave marriages for them is they feel they can no longer make that woman happy that they're with. So they go to look for someone that will appreciate them and who will allow them to be happy. So receiving is hard for us because number one, we don't value a lot of times what's being given to us. Not that we don't value the person giving it to us, we don't value that we're valuable enough to get it. For example, if someone compliments you and says, "Oh my God, I love your necklace," or "I love your dress," what's the first thing we say? It's old. When we say it's been in my closet forever, we don't say, "Oh, thank you. I so appreciate the compliment." We discount it. And that goes back again to our confidence in our own value not being there. Now, for an alpha female usually wants control. I'm an alpha female. Boy, I one of the reasons I got into this was because after my second marriage ended, he said to me, Lisa, you don't know how to let a man be a man. So I went back to my first husband to see, oh, is this true? And he said, no, I would never have let you emasculate me. But that's because we had developed roles. And he pretty much brought home the money in my first marriage, and I took care of everything. I became very powerful in that marriage. And so when I came into a second marriage, I didn't know how to let him be a man because the roles were different. And so, what is it that I didn't let him do? I did not let him help me. When we're so strong, we forget to let people help us. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes. I completely agree.
So we forget to let them help us, and we'll say we'll say I can do it. It's okay. And when we're mad or upset, that's when we really go into this place of I can do it. Just leave me alone, because we're trying to get our strength back. But when you're over 50, men have changed from the time they were in their 20s, and they really do want to help you. So, an example from my own life. I was cooking dinner one day. I'm in a committed relationship now. I was cooking dinner one day, and my honey comes home and he says to me, can I help you with something? Can I set the table for you? Or oh, the garbage is full. Can I take that out for you? And I'm going, no, I can do it. No, I can do it. And finally, he said to me, Lisa, I just want to make you happy. Let me do something for you. And that was a huge reminder of, oh my God, I have to learn to receive again. And I was just lucky that he was really kind about it. And I didn't train him. What we do then when we do everything is we train men to stop doing for us. And then we get mad because we get very overwhelmed because we become superwomen.
Well, I think this is an amazing point. And I feel when I look back at my own marriage, I think this was my huge error in it. And the great lesson that I took from it, which was I overgave like a beast, and kept thinking, well, if I just give and give and give, he'll love me, or I have love issue. I mean, I never feel lovable. I had a lot of I learned so much from that relationship. I'm very grateful for it actually, because it taught me a lot. But I think that propensity is still with me because I'm a single mom. I have two teenage daughters. I have full custody, I'm like always on the go. It's very hard. And I think this is an important point because often I have felt, and I'm sure other women can relate to this, that if I relax and I ask for help, that I'm giving away my power. And in some way, I'm becoming less powerful. And because women are becoming so much more powerful in our society, suddenly we can be CEOs, or we can be, I can own a couple businesses, like I can do this sort of thing. So I don't want to release that in a way. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I've got my own money, I've got my own thing. And it's like, that's the opposite. But that's a big problem, right? I'm going to give away my power if I do this.
Right. So we were taught the wrong thing about feeling empowered when it comes to men. We were pretty much taught, I'm going to step on him, I'm going to get ahead of him, and I can do it. I am woman, let me roar. And we are powerful, but in a relationship, we lose our power when we stop asking for help or when we overgive for love because we don't get our needs met. And I always teach my clients, I call them the four magic words, which is I need your help, or the five magic words, could you do me a favor? And the reason these are so powerful is it teaches us to step back and to allow someone to help us because we've turned ourselves into superwomen and we don't have to be superwomen. Really, these men want an emotionally healthy man really does want to help you. He doesn't want to see you exhausted at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think this is so true and interesting. Right before I got divorced, like the year before, I finally got this and thought I'm going to step back and I'm going to ask for what I want. So
Yeah.
it was a very interesting because even though the marriage was like really on the outs, I remember I walked into a store and we were in Thailand, and I looked at a ring and I said, I really want that ring. Would you buy me that ring, please? Oh my God, I would never ask for that ever. Like in the whole, I was married 13 years. He walked in, bought the ring, a pendant, and earrings, and came back and said, "Here, I bought." And I was like, "What just happened?" you know. Or I started saying, "I'm really tired. Can you do dinner tonight? I'm going to go upstairs and read a book." Oh yeah, he was all over it, and it was a great lesson. But I think those lessons they're difficult to internalize because I show up at my job, or I'm freelance, but I show up and I am in charge. I mean, you know what I mean? It's almost like you come home and you have to click your brain over.
Well, you can use all of this in business too, even though you're in charge. It's really learning, even in business, to let others help you because we have a tendency not to do it there either. We
Right.
do it ourselves. I know I do that in my own life. When I'm going to post a blog, I have someone that can do that for me, but sometimes I'll go, I'll just do it. Why? It's just adding one more thing to my plate. And so it's really a lot of women do say, how do I flip the switch? You shouldn't have to flip a switch. It's really more about learning that people love to help. It makes us feel good when we help someone. And when you don't let them help, whether it's male or female, you're actually almost saying, I don't want your gift. And it's not, it's really, it actually does not make you powerful. It makes you seem like the B word because you're not allowing someone to give to you.
Well, I think this is so true, and it's a really powerful, powerful thing. So I kind of want to switch gears now and talk about. I want to talk about online dating because that's a huge thing. I've been out of my marriage 10 years, and I've done a fair bit of online dating with greater and lesser success. So, what do you think about online dating for older people?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think you have to be very careful about scammers and you have to know. I teach my clients what to look for in a scammer. I also teach them what to put in a profile so it doesn't necessarily attract a scammer. There's certain things that give you away, like I'm looking for my soulmate, I've been so lonely, things like that. Those are all like trigger points. But online dating is where you're going to find the most single men. But there are disadvantages to online dating, as I'm sure you saw,
Yes. Go
right?
ahead. So, what are those?
Well, number one, you're looking at someone's picture and making a judgment about him based on his picture, and vice versa. Men are doing that for women too. And when you meet someone in real life, you see their personality mixed with their picture and you think, or who they are in reality. And you think, oh my God, this guy's cute. But you see the same guy online and you go, oh my God, I would never go out with him because of how, his looks. It's very one dimensional. And that is a real problem with online dating. In fact, when I work with clients, we create what's called a dating blueprint so that you have more than one way to meet men. Because if you just rely on online dating, it's tough. It can be very tough and very difficult.
Well, I think that's really true, and I mean, I've tried probably like 4 or 5 different sites. The ones that you just swipe, or ones that you actually go and you read about the person, and it's very time consuming. So what about matchmakers and things like that?
So I think matchmakers are great. I've had relationships from online dating, but my guy and I actually met through a matchmaker. The reason that happened is I was out of a relationship for about 6 or 7 months. And I always, always tell women, do not come out of a relationship and start dating because you do need, even if it's been a bad relationship, you need to mourn and grieve the relationship. It's so important. And I've had women ask me about matchmakers, and I have a colleague here where I live who is a matchmaker. And I thought, okay, when I'm ready, I'm going to try this because I have to be able to know what it's like to do a matchmaker. I've done all the other ways. And for me, it was very successful. I had a friend that saw my success, and she went and she said, oh my God, what's his name? I want to try him. She hated him. Now, can I share with you the difference of why I
Yeah,
loved him and why she hated him?
yeah.
Another thing I teach clients to do is to create what's called a quality man template. This is a template that we create together that helps you really dive down into the best man for you. Because most women are attracted to what to a type of man. But if that type worked, they'd be with him. And the type is who they're re-attracted to, which is just like their ex or exes in some way. So you have to get really clear on a new type of man who's actually going to make you happy. Also, you have to get out of it has to be immediate attraction or immediate chemistry because you're missing a lot of good men that way. So, my honey and I did not have immediate chemistry with him. I thought he was kind of cute. He was, I think he's really cute now, but I thought he was kind of cute. They grow on us. But what happened is he had every single thing on my quality man template. And I said, oh my God, I have to give him a chance because this is what I've been looking for. Whereas I've always been attracted to these arrogant, narcissistic men. God only knows why. And when I said to the matchmaker, he says, what is it that you really want? And I said, I want a successful man who's also humble and kind. I just really wanted that. And that's what I got. So I stuck with it because my template was directing me like, by looking at this, I could see he had everything on it. And I thought, I have to give this a chance. And the chemistry built over time. And I just adore him. I mean, I just adore him. But I would have passed him up if I hadn't had this template. And that is what I help clients create. And they always say to me, oh my God, I'm in the happiest relationship. I never would have seen him in the past. It just totally changes.
So why didn't that person like that matchmaker? What happened? What was the disconnect there?
So same reason. She wasn't feeling instant chemistry. She was, not attracted to them. She said he's not really vetting people. And I've heard this from other matchmakers too. I've talked to many matchmakers and they say, I really have the perfect match for this person, but they cannot see it. And that's why a lot of people get so upset with matchmakers because of that.
Well, I think you're right. I think clarity is incredibly important. And also, I mean, clarity with what you're looking for, but also, clarity from your heart to your head, right? Like it's like there's that has been a huge thing for me because I tend to live here and I needed to really get into my heart because men can sense if your heart is not open. Like there might be an attraction, but I think they can feel like she's got this wall, right? And that was totally me for years. Like I just had such a thick wall up. And I think learning to drop that wall, working on myself in that sense, so that when a man sits down with me, he goes, oh, I can feel her. Do you know what I mean? I feel who she is.
Men need to connect to your heart anyway. That's how they connect. They don't connect through your mind because they love your mind, they love your intelligence. But when you get into only the intellectual stuff, you are in the friend zone. You don't have a heart connection with the guy. So that's a problem.
That's a huge thing. What do you think men are really looking for?
I think they want a woman who's going to have their back, just like we want a man who's going to have our back. I think they want a woman who is going to let them be a man. We really do emasculate men without realizing it. I swear I used to do it like it was my job. Under stress, I could still do it. And we don't realize that. They want to be allowed to be themselves because we want to be ourselves, but we are always trying to change them. And by the way, women fall in love with men's potential and men fall in love with the real you. They are not trying to change you, an emotionally healthy man.
Wow, I think that's very, very true and very like kind of sad, that we just keep wanting to, I can see absolutely that I do that as opposed to just accepting that person for where they and believing what they say about themselves. Like if they say they're messy, you go, okay, you're messy. Not okay, that's no big deal. I can fix that. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we think if a man will love us enough, they'll change for us. And that's the wrong way to look at it. You either have to love them for who they are or go find someone else. So for a while in my relationship, I found myself going, I could really change this and I could change that. And, I would always bring different things up. And what I was doing is he was feeling like he wasn't okay enough for me. And why the heck was I with him? And for me, I was never happy because of that. And then one day I was reading this amazing book and it talked about, I don't know, it just triggered me. And what I decided was, I need to accept him for who he is, exactly how he is. And I could tell him the changes and shifts I'm making in my own life. If he wants to do them, fine. If not, that's his choice. And when I decided to do that, to let him be himself, actually, I fell more in love with him. And I became a heck of a lot happier than trying to fix this guy every 10 seconds to make him the version of who I thought I had to be with. And it's a setup for failure.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And those are huge things I think that women are learning. I think probably my grandmother was clearer on things like that because that was more the women's role was it was very defined, right? And I think she knew, yeah, the man does this and I do this. And I mean, I look back and think she actually knew how to receive. She, she wasn't trying to change my grandpa. So it's interesting.
Well, she had to also. They were financially dependent on these men. So they had a certain gratitude. I see your dog, so cute.
Oh
In the
yeah, no,
background.
I move her and she'll just jump back, so I just leave her. Sorry,
She's
it's a little
adorable.
distracting.
Oh no, it's wonderful. That's a lot of heart energy sitting right behind
That
you.
is, it is.
Unconditional love.
Yeah,
Those animals.
right.
And actually, we have that for them too.
Yeah,
Our dogs have their faults. This is a really good analogy because
yeah,
our dogs have their faults, but we still accept them and love them exactly for who they are.
yeah,
And that's why it's so important to start to do that. And like I said, when I started to just do that, he became more relaxed. He was able to be more loving. He was able to give me more on his own. And I felt deeper in love with him because of that versus, like I said, just henpecking him constantly. So that dog was a really good sign to stand up so we could see her.
she's the same color as my sofa, so she gets to.
He's
Sorry.
adorable.
Okay, so just kind of one of the last questions I have is I wanted to kind of touch on the subject of sex because that's a huge issue, and I'm sure you've heard the 3 date rule, right? So by the third date you got to give it up, or they're gonna walk. I feel like if you don't give it up, and this is very rough, right? I'm being very crude here, but that is, hello.
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
surrounded by millennials in my work, and so I hear all this, but and I've thought, well, if he's going to walk, if I don't have sex with him on the third day, he's going to walk anyway. So I'm going to make my own decisions on this, on how I feel about it. But maybe you could speak to this because it's a big issue. Like, what do you give? How much do you give? And then also, our bodies are so different, right? We don't feel as sexy. I mean, so maybe talk about the sex thing.
Well, let's talk about millennials first, as long as you brought them up.
Yeah.
And this is how we dated in our 20s as well. You're actually wired to be looking for someone you can have children with. Whether you want to have children or not have children, it is in your DNA coding. In our 50s, as one of the first generations to be doing this in mass numbers, we go back to dating that way. But that's not where we're at today. What it is today is everyone has some forms of dysfunction at different times, both men and women. And I noticed from dating in my 40s, when it was still very much about sex, to dating in my 50s, and is that in my 50s, it became more, these guys were more into friendship. As you went further into your 50s, well, even in the beginning of my 50s, I noticed that too. It was a definite shift. So when it comes to sex at this age, all men are going to want it because that's just how they're wired. But they do respect you for setting your own boundary. Now, that doesn't mean you can wait 9 months to have sex. During that time, you have to you do want to play around some. You do need to encourage him because he needs to know. But also, I do not recommend, unless you want to fling, I recommend you become exclusive before you get into a sexual relationship with someone. Number one, there are a lot more safety issues. Even though we can't get pregnant, STDs and herpes were one of the biggest generations to have it now, right behind teenagers, because we're doing a lot of unprotected sex. So you always want to be very safe. But you can set your boundaries, know how far you'll go, and no, you do not have to have sex on a third date. That is your choice. You know what you want to do. And if a man isn't going to honor you, I had a man once say to me, I said to him, Well, it was the 3rd date. He put the moves on me, and I really felt like I just did not know him well enough to have sex, and my hormones were not in the same place as in my 20s where you just had to have sex, and I said to him, "I feel like I need to get to know you better before I start an intimate relationship with you." And he said, "You just don't trust me." And I said, "It's not about trusting, it's about I feel I need to get to know you better." Well, this turned into a big argument. He ended up leaving, and that was it, because that's not the right kind of guy. I don't need some guy in my life that's not going to honor me and for what I'm asking for. And it was a reasonable request. I wasn't saying I'm not going to have sex forever. I'm just saying I need to get to know you better. So, does this help explain you've got to know your own boundaries and you do need to make the choice when you're ready?
Yes, absolutely. I think so. And I do think as you get older, you can talk about it in such an open way. Like I find when I've been in relationships, it's more of a conversation. Like, well,
Yeah.
what do you feel? And it's not like there's this you can't talk about it and we just need to go do it. You know what I mean? It's like there's this huge discussion because there's such a maturity there. And for me, I like to talk about
Mhm.
stuff like that because it makes me feel more comfortable and it helps me get to know them. And I think you're right. There's a lot of other things you can do besides sex, full on sex.
Yeah.
But it's playful and fun and actually is really an important part of developing the relationship.
It is. And I want to address here a second about men. And men are on different drugs that create a lot of dysfunction.
Mhm.
And it's very, very emasculating for them. They feel less than, and they're worried how women will feel about them. Some of my clients say it's a deal breaker. If a guy can't have full on sex, they're not going to get involved with him. And that's okay. That's fine. It's something though, if it happens to you with a man, just be kind because it really is very, very difficult on them. I did an interview with a woman who was part of this men's health center, and she talked a lot about it. And she talked about how devastating it is to men because they too remember themselves at 18 when they were little stud muffins and doing it with everybody. And her biggest recommendation was just be kind, talk about it. You can find other ways. there's lots of different there's lots of different ways, but it's more the kindness.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true kind of across the board in relationships. It's just have kindness and empathy be the center point rather than have that kind of, well, then you're out, sort of thing. And I meet a lot of my friends are like that. Well, if he doesn't do that thing, and, and I think really, like, I don't know, that just doesn't, I mean, and then there's boundaries. So it's like you got to figure out your own boundaries, your own limits. But I think that really hard line, and that's such the masculine in us that we kind of got to take and look, let's give a backseat to or use it when it's appropriate. That whole masculine drive, right? That we women have sort of taken on. By being clear with that, what I mean by that, because I do feel like women have both masculine and feminine, right? And we just have to decide
So do
which
men.
we're gonna
Men
go
do
with
too.
that. Yeah, I think that's really true.
We both do. But that's what I'm talking about. When we're knocking guys out for all these different things, we're really setting ourselves up to be alone the rest of our lives. And when we were younger, we were not that crazy. If we liked a guy, we gave him a chance. We weren't thinking before coffee was done, is he going to be my next husband? You know, we don't give each other a chance. We're making snap decisions and missing potential good relationships by not getting to know someone.
I think that's really true, and really giving things a chance. I mean, I recently met a man, and we went out on 2 dates. And the third date, I invited him over, and I cooked him dinner. And I mean, I look back because I've had full custody of my kids, so I mean, it's very hard for me to get the kitchen space and everybody out of the house so I can have kind of a nice conversation with this person. But anyway, now it's a lot easier. So I did it and it felt amazing just to cook for someone and give to them. And he loved it. He was so happy. I mean, it was just a really cool, we had a great time. And I think being willing to do stuff like that. And I mean, for some women, they automatically go to doing that because that's like, they're more comfortable. I've not been super comfortable with that. So that's much harder for me. So anyway, but I think that's right, right? Taking that approach, that kindness.
Yeah, get to know someone
Yeah,
because that is again back to the matchmaker we were talking about earlier. They
yeah,
knock them out. What we're really doing is we're protecting our hearts.
Yes.
because we're afraid to fail again. So we're looking for the perfect man, or for men, the perfect woman. Although men are a little bit, they're not as picky, or not. It's not that they're not as picky. They're because they're not looking at potential. It's just different. They're looking at reality, and they either like it or don't. But for us, we really do set ourselves up for failure all the time by knocking good men out of the field before, before giving them a chance.
I totally agree. So, Lisa, this has been such a great conversation. I love talking to you. I feel like you're a wealth of wisdom and knowledge with this, and you have a great supportive mindset where you're here to support and help and advise. And that's just, and you have such a gentleness too. And I think that's a really important quality for helping, because, it's such a vulnerable thing to deal with this dating, and to talk about our own issues, because really it is, our own blocks. And you do such a great job of addressing them. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Can I offer your audience a free gift?
Oh, yes,
You
wonderful.
okay? So
Yeah.
I have, if you're starting out with dating, or if you've been in a rut and just think, oh, I need some new ideas, I have on my website a free report called The 5 Little Known Secrets for Finding Quality Men. And it talks about gives you different tips for how to find men. I give you my profile template in there, how to write a great profile. And women tell me they really like it. You can get a lot of useful information out of it, whether you're stuck or whether you're just starting. So you can find that at findaqualityman.com, because that's the name of my site, findaqualityman.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So I will put that in the lower, thing so women can see that. And I'll also put it in the blog post. So thank you, Lisa Copeland, for joining me today on The Beauty Shaman.
Thank you for having me here. It was so much fun, Suzanne.
So thank you for tuning into The Beauty Shaman. And please look at some of my other videos on dating and relationships.